Right now, while you are watching this, an ancient ghost is screaming out of our solar system. It is moving at roughly 153,000 miles per hour. At that incredible speed, a high-powered rifle bullet would look like it was hanging frozen in midair. It is vast, silent, and incredibly old, carrying silent secrets from places we will never ever be able to reach. We are talking about a frozen relic that was forged in the deep dark of the universe nearly 11 billion years ago. That means it existed before our sun was even a spark, before the Earth was even a passing thought in the cosmic dust, and right now it is tearing through our quiet cosmic backyard. For weeks, the absolute greatest minds on this planet did not just track this massive object. They did not just take pictures of it. They pointed some of the most powerful technology we have ever built at this silent mountain of ice and rock, and they listened to it. They aimed massive arrays of radio dishes into the blackness, holding their breath, waiting to see if this ancient traveler had anything to say as it passed. And that is exactly where the story changes from a simple astronomical event into something that might just keep you awake tonight. Because when they listened to that impossible void, they did not hear simple silence. They found chilling, unexplainable anomalies, strange, structured whispers hiding inside the raw data that absolutely defied immediate explanation. It forces us to stop, take a breath, and ask a truly profound question. What does it actually mean for us to finally hear a faint, lingering whisper in the deep dark from something that has been traveling alone since the very dawn of time? In the next few minutes, we are going to peel back the layers of this extraordinary event. First, we will reveal exactly what was hiding deep inside the 74 million separate radio hits that SETI researchers detected when they pointed their instruments at this passing giant. The truth of what they found in that massive ocean of static will completely change how you look at the night sky. Second, we are going to look past the frantic headlines. The news anchors are not telling you the real story about where this object actually came from. We will trace its true origin point back to a region known as the thick disk of the Milky Way, a graveyard of ancient stars. Finally, we are going to look ahead to a ticking clock that involves all of us. We will uncover exactly what is going to happen in the distant future when our own Voyager probes become silent interstellar objects themselves, drifting into the territories of unknown suns. But before we dive into the deep end of the cosmos, let us take just a brief moment to slow down, take a deep breath, and truly connect with one another right now. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and felt with absolute certainty that someone or something was looking back? It is a powerful feeling. Please share your city and your deepest thoughts on that exact feeling in the comments below. If you want to continue uncovering these cosmic truths with us, gently tap that subscribe button today. We are building a wonderful community of thinkers here. But to truly understand what just happened, we must return to a very specific night. We have to travel back to a quiet, lonely mountain ridge in the great nation of Chile. It was the 1st of July in the year 2025. High up in the dry, freezing air of the Chilean Andes, the Atlas Observatory sat quietly under a sprawling canopy of stars. Its robotic eyes were doing what they always do, tirelessly sweeping the darkness, searching for anything moving against the static backdrop of the heavens. In a control room far away, the data registered a tiny, unassuming smudge of light. It was just a handful of pixels on a glowing monitor. But those few pixels were moving, and they were moving fast. When you stop to really think about the sheer, unimaginable scale of the cold cosmos, it is profoundly humbling to realize how completely exposed our small blue world truly is. We build our homes, we raise our families, and we sleep soundly through the night, completely unaware of the colossal forces sweeping silently past our planetary doorstep in the dark. As computers crunched the numbers, the true reality of this faint smudge came into terrifying focus. This was not a pebble. It was a staggering 3.5 miles wide. Imagine taking the entirety of Mount Everest, ripping it from the surface of the Earth, and hurling it end over end through the freezing void. That is the sheer mass we are dealing with. And it was blazing toward the inner solar system at roughly 153,000 miles per hour. That is so violently fast, it strains human comprehension. At that incredible, mind-bending speed, you could easily travel from New York to Los Angeles in just over 1 single minute, standing in the path of something that massive moving that quickly forces us to confront our own fragility. If an object of that magnitude were to ever intersect with our planet, it would not just be a tragedy, it would be a total reset of human history, an unstoppable force wiping our fragile slate completely clean in a fraction of a second. Thankfully, the early orbital math showed that this towering mountain of ice was going to safely thread the cosmic needle, passing harmlessly through our inner solar system without striking our delicate world. The researchers at the observatory quickly filed their initial reports. They logged its trajectory, estimated its mass, and gave it a very sterile, uninspiring catalog name. They called it 3I Atlas. In those first few days of July, the scientific community collectively exhaled and placed the object into a very comfortable, familiar mental box. They assumed they had simply spotted another ordinary comet, a dirty snowball born from the icy fringes of our own Oort cloud, taking a long, elliptical lap around the sun. It is a very human trait to want to categorize the unknown, to label it quickly so we do not have to be afraid of it anymore. We crave the safety of predictability. The scientists working those long night shifts looked at their screens and firmly believed they knew exactly what they were dealing with. They thought it was just another local rock following the standard rules of gravity and physics. But the vast, uncaring universe does not give any regard to our comfortable little boxes. The universe loves a terrifying surprise. What those experts did not know, what they could not possibly have anticipated in those early hours, was that this was not a local rock at all. The true nature of 3I Atlas was about to rip their comfortable assumptions completely apart, leaving them staring slack-jawed at a reality that no one was ready to accept. When the first detailed calculations of the orbit finally came back, the comfortable illusion shattered instantly. Astronomers fully expected to see the familiar looping path of a standard space rock bound to our sun. They expected a local neighbor. But the actual data revealed a trajectory so steep and a velocity so extreme that it completely defied the gravitational chains of our solar system. This was not a local comet at all. It was an interstellar intruder. It was plunging into our neighborhood from the deep, uncharted abyss of the Milky Way, and it had no intention of staying. This stunning revelation made 3I Atlas only the third interstellar object ever confirmed in human history, following in the ghostly, mysterious footsteps of Oumuamua and Borisov. But simply being a visitor from another star system was not the real twist. It was not the fact that shattered the quiet hum of observatories around the globe. The true shock came when astrophysicists traced its chemical signature and trajectory backward to calculate its age. They did not find an object that was a few million years old. The data indicated that this sprawling, tumbling mountain was up to 11 billion years old. 11 billion years. Stop and sit with that for a moment. Try to wrap your human mind around that impossible expanse of time. If you were to take an ordinary grain of sand and let it represent a single human lifetime, 11 billion years would be a vast beach stretching out so far it disappears over the horizon. This majestic object was forged in the unimaginably violent, chaotic dawn of the universe. It was cast out into the freezing dark long before our Earth even existed. It was traveling alone through the silent void before our sun was even a faint spark in a glowing nebula. It has survived the violent death of unknown stars, the catastrophic collision of distant galaxies, and the crushing, lonely quiet of completely empty deep space. It is a true ghost, forever carrying the ancient dust of a time we can only dream about. When you look up at the night sky, it is easy to feel small, but realizing that something so impossibly ancient is passing right through our cosmic backyard makes us feel entirely momentary. We are just a brief fleeting flash of lightning in the long dark life of this silent traveler. It forces us to wonder what it has seen during those 11 billion years of endless wandering. Has it passed by other living worlds? Has it brushed past the dying embers of forgotten lost civilizations? This deep, unsettling sense of wonder is exactly what caused a massive, fundamental shift in the scientific community. Because once they realized how old and how wildly anomalous this object truly was, it abruptly stopped being just a curiosity for geologists and comet experts. It became something entirely different. Now that we understand just how impossibly ancient this stunning visitor actually is, we have to look at the very real, very deeply human reaction it caused on Earth. Because its sudden, screaming arrival did not just wake up the traditional astronomers monitoring local skies, it immediately triggered massive, blaring alarm bells for the world's absolute most dedicated, brilliant alien hunters. The dedicated experts who spend their entire lives listening for a tiny, structured whisper from the stars suddenly realized that an ancient, unprecedented messenger was flying right past our planetary front door. They could not ignore the profound, looming implications of its trajectory. They urgently had to know if it was something more than just a rock. And what they decided to do next changed everything we thought we knew about our solitary place in the dark universe. They aimed our most powerful, sensitive listening technology directly at the silent void, locked onto its position, and they waited, they held their breath, and they listened. Why does this truly matter to you directly? When you're sitting so quietly in your living room, drinking your morning coffee, and worrying about the very real, heavy burdens of everyday life, Why should a chunk of ice millions of miles away matter? It matters because of the profound existential weight that interstellar objects carry with them. If a mountain has been traveling through the freezing darkness for 11 billion years, what exactly has it seen? It has passed through regions of the cosmos that we cannot even begin to fathom. It has flown through the dusty remains of shattered planets and the bright, violent birth of completely new stars. But here is the massive question that truly keeps brilliant minds awake in the dead of night. What if it's not just a simple rock? For years, highly respected researchers, including prominent Harvard astronomers, have engaged in serious, formally published speculations about these rare interstellar visitors. They have dared to ask the forbidden question completely out loud. Could some of these impossibly ancient, incredibly fast-moving objects actually be artificial? Could they be the decaying probes, the silent light sails, or the discarded technological trash of a highly advanced civilization that totally died out a billion years before humanity ever learned to strike a simple fire? This isn't just basic science fiction anymore. It's a genuine, highly valid scientific hypothesis born from a deeply seated human fear and an equally powerful, desperate hope. We're absolutely, deeply terrified of the dark, and we're profoundly terrified of being utterly alone in it. When we look up at the endless, crushing blackness of the night sky, our absolute greatest, unspoken longing is to finally find some definitive proof that we're not the only ones who ever looked back. We translate massive astronomical distance into very personal human longing simply because we desperately want a connection. We want to know for sure that life means something in this vast, cold arena. If 3I Atlas actually was a messenger, if it truly was an ancient probe specifically designed to map the galaxy, then missing its passing would easily be the greatest tragedy in all of human history. We'd have literally slept right through our one and only chance to answer the single biggest question we have ever asked. That lingering, haunting possibility, that profound, deep longing for real cosmic connection, eventually became simply too heavy to ignore. The brilliant scientific community couldn't mentally bear the crushing thought of letting this incredible ancient traveler vanish forever back into the silent void without at least attempting to listen. They simply had to know if someone, or perhaps something, was waiting on the other side of the freezing silence. And this exact longing is exactly why the highly dedicated researchers at the renowned SETI Institute made a completely monumental decision. They decided to halt their standard operations, pivot their massive, highly sensitive radio arrays directly at the rushing comet, and plunge headfirst into this historic scientific investigation. In the quiet golden hills of Northern California, away from the frantic noise of modern civilization, 42 massive radio dishes sit pointing at the heavens. This is the Allen Telescope Array, the beating heart of the Breakthrough Listen project. It is arguably the absolute most sophisticated, highly advanced alien hunting operation currently existing anywhere on the face of the entire Earth today. When the researchers locked those incredible dishes onto the rushing trajectory of 3I Atlas, the atmosphere inside the control room instantly shifted. This was no longer just another routine day at the office. This was a high-stakes gamble. The brilliant men and women sitting in front of those glowing monitors understood the gravity of the moment perfectly. They were drinking stale coffee in the middle of the night, rubbing their tired eyes, and quietly wondering if today was the specific day that human history would change forever. Would they genuinely be the very ones to finally, decisively answer the single greatest question humanity has ever dared to ask? They aimed their instruments at the frozen mountain and initiated a continuous, focused scan that lasted for 7.25 agonizing hours. During that time, the array drank in a massive ocean of raw radio frequencies. They were not looking for the broad, messy static that stars and supernovas naturally scream into the void. They were hunting for something incredibly specific. They were searching for narrowband signals. These are the sharp, distinct, highly compressed radio wavelengths that nature simply does not produce on its own. Narrowband signals are the undeniable fingerprint of technology. They are the exact kind of structured noise a deliberate artificial transmitter actually makes. As the slow, agonizing hours relentlessly ticked by, the servers began to furiously collect the incoming data. And the sheer volume of what poured back from that empty patch of space was absolutely staggering. The Allen Telescope Array did not just catch a few errant blips. The system logged an astonishing 74 million individual narrowband hits, 74 million distinct pings of radio energy raining down from the exact direction of the impossibly ancient comet. It is a number so incredibly massive it threatens to break your human brain. To truly understand the colossal weight of that staggering data drop, imagine walking onto a sprawling, endless ocean beach at midnight. Now, imagine someone tells you that somewhere in miles and miles of ordinary sand, there is exactly one single microscopic grain that is faintly glowing in the dark. Your impossible job is to sift through the entire beach, grain by grain, with your bare hands, until you somehow find it. That is exactly what 74 million radio hits look like to a researcher. It is an incredibly overwhelming, completely crushing avalanche of pure cosmic noise. Every single one of those 74 million hits represented a tiny, agonizing sliver of hope and immense fear. As the scientists stared blankly at the cascading walls of rapidly shifting numbers, a deep, heavy tension settled permanently over the entire control room. You absolutely have to put yourself right in their nervous shoes for just a second. Imagine the immense, suffocating weight of knowing that hidden somewhere deep inside that impossible mountain of chaotic data could be a deliberate greeting. Somewhere in those 74 million hits could be the faint, fading transmission of an ancient artificial intelligence that has been waiting 11 billion years for someone to finally pick up the phone. It is the kind of profound realization that makes your chest feel incredibly tight. It forces you to realize that our entire civilization, our wars, our greatest triumphs, and our deepest sorrows are all just a tiny, insignificant blip on the grand cosmic radar. The sheer excitement in that silent room was completely electric, but it was also heavily laced with a very real, very human dread. What if they simply blinked and tragically missed the faint signal entirely? What if the raw data was simply too massive to ever properly decipher? The initial flood of raw, unfiltered data was completely overwhelming, a chaotic storm of cosmic static and terrestrial interference. They desperately and urgently needed to completely separate the vast, towering amounts of meaningless dirt from the potential glowing gold. But what happened when they finally took a deep breath, engaged their powerful computing algorithms, and ran all 74 million hits through their rigorous, specialized filters is exactly where the true, chilling mystery actually emerged. The brilliant researchers knew that human eyes and human minds could never possibly sift through 74 million distinct hits manually. They had to rely on the cold, calculating precision of advanced algorithms. They fed that massive, towering haystack of data into powerful supercomputers, applying incredibly strict, rigorous filters designed to strip away the meaningless cosmic background noise. They told the computers to completely ignore the normal static of the universe and to look only for the exact specific patterns that a deliberate, intelligent transmitter would leave behind. They were hunting for a technosignature. As the powerful processors furiously crunched the massive numbers, the towering pile of 74 million chaotic hits began to rapidly shrink. It dropped down to a few million, then a few 100,000, and finally, it stopped completely. The relentless computers spit out the final, highly refined result, and the room went dead silent. Out of that massive, sprawling ocean of 74 million initial hits, the algorithms isolated exactly 211 specific, highly anomalous signals of interest. They found just 211 highly structured whispers. Imagine taking every single book in a massive metropolitan library and burning them all down to find just one single perfectly preserved paragraph. That is exactly what this intense filtering process actually achieved. For a few agonizing, breathtaking moments, the sheer suspense was absolutely paralyzing. Could this absolutely truly be it? Were these 211 isolated signals the ultimate, undeniable proof we had been desperately searching for? Were they actually staring at a faded, 11 billion-year-old technosignature from a deeply ancient civilization calling out from the freezing dark? The scientists carefully pulled those 211 specific signals apart, examining their structures with terrifying precision. They looked at the frequencies, the drifting patterns, and the exact bandwidths. But this is exactly where the frantic, sensational headlines completely fail you, and where the honest, verifiable scientific truth becomes far more fascinating. Because when they finally completed their exhaustive, meticulous analysis, running the data back through their advanced diagnostic systems one last time, they found the real, undeniable answer. The final, verifiable scientific conclusion was absolutely definitive. It was confirmed that all 211 signals were ultimately attributed to human radio frequency interference, commonly known as RFI. It was not a grand alien greeting. Instead, it was nothing more than the messy, chaotic, entirely ordinary noise of our very own modern civilization bleeding into the cosmos. It was the erratic pinging of passing satellites, the loud hum of distant airplanes, and the scattered interference of our own cell phone towers bouncing erratically around the atmosphere and bleeding directly into the highly sensitive telescope array. Now, it is incredibly easy to hear that verifiable truth and feel a deep, crushing wave of sudden disappointment. It is easy to view this as a total, heartbreaking failure, but you have to completely reframe how you look at this intense moment because the contrast here is absolutely vital. This was not a failure at all. It was a staggering, profound success. The undeniable fact that the brilliant Breakthrough Listen project could deliberately point their giant dishes at an ancient, tumbling rock flying 153,000 miles per hour, capture 74 million distinct hits of raw static, and successfully isolate 211 specific anomalous signals proves something completely incredible. It definitively proves that our listening technology is now powerful enough and our algorithms are now smart enough to actually find the needle in the cosmic haystack. If a genuine, deliberate alien transmission ever actually hits our planet, we now know with absolute certainty that we have the proper tools to catch it. We are no longer deaf in the dark. We are finally ready to listen. We successfully built a net tight enough to catch an impossibly small whisper in a hurricane of noise. The deep, humbling realization that the terrifying whispers they heard were actually just Earth's own chaotic noise reflecting right back at us brought a massive wave of collective relief to the exhausted researchers. We were absolutely not under the watchful surveillance of an ancient, highly advanced alien probe sent to map our fragile world. Instead, we were simply hearing the loud, messy, beautifully chaotic echo of our own busy, rapidly advancing world staring directly out into the vast, silent void. And that beautiful, poetic realization naturally leads us into a moment of profound, comforting perspective about our ultimate place in the dark. Let us take a slow, deep breath together. When we talk about massive mountains of ancient ice screaming through our solar system, it is perfectly natural to feel a sudden knot of anxiety in your stomach, but you can absolutely rest easy tonight. The frozen object known as 3I Atlas posed absolutely zero physical threat to our beautiful blue world. It simply passed by us safely at a distance of millions upon millions of miles away. To put that massive distance into perspective, imagine a single baseball sitting quietly on your kitchen table, while another baseball flies harmlessly past a house 3 towns over. That is the kind of vast, comforting safety margin we are talking about here. But far more importantly, this entire incredible event should make you feel profoundly empowered. It is the ultimate proof that our planetary shields are actively working. The tireless Atlas network, alongside our other brilliant robotic sentinels staring endlessly into the dark, did their absolute jobs flawlessly. We are no longer a blind, helpless species waiting blindly in the dark for the sky to fall. We are actively monitoring our borders, carefully watching the cosmic gates, and relentlessly protecting our fragile home against these incredible threats. We also deeply need to take a moment right now to extract a profoundly comforting meaning from exactly how this entire massive investigation ultimately played out. In our modern, hyper-connected world, wild internet rumors and frantic, sensational doomsday headlines can spread like a terrifying wildfire. It is so incredibly easy to get completely swept up in the absolute panic of an ancient alien probe or a catastrophic planetary collision. But the careful, deliberate scientific method functioned completely perfectly here. The brilliant minds at the SETI Institute did not panic. They did not let the loud, frantic noise dictate their reality. Instead, they used cold, hard data to separate the wild fiction from the verifiable, comforting truth. They proved that human reason can beautifully cut through the darkest fears. We faced down an impossibly ancient 11 billion-year-old mystery, and we answered it with calm, stunning precision. We are safe, we are watchful, and we are incredibly capable. We firmly stood our ground against the frightening unknown and simply learned from it. Now that we have fully settled the immediate fear and proven that our world is perfectly secure, we need to gently pull back the lens. We have to stop looking at just this one single passing comet and instead look at the grand, sweeping picture. Because truly understanding exactly what this brief historic encounter actually means requires us to view humanity's ultimate, fleeting place in this vast, terrifying, and undeniably beautiful cosmic timeline. As we watch the frozen ghost of 3I Atlas finally fade back into the crushing, absolute darkness of the outer void, we are forced to confront the ultimate haunting open loop. This impossibly ancient traveler is not just a passing curiosity, it is a profound, terrifying mirror reflecting our own distant future. As the brilliant researchers at SETI have poignantly pointed out, humanity has already cast its own silent stones into the deep cosmic ocean. Right now, our own Voyager spacecraft are steadily piercing the veil of interstellar space, carrying golden records etched with the sounds of our fragile world. Eventually, long after the very last human has taken a breath, and long after our bright blue planet has been completely swallowed by an expanding red sun, those tiny, fragile metal probes will continue to drift. In a few billion years, they will inevitably enter the warm, glowing light of other distant solar systems. They will arrive as ancient, totally dead relics. And perhaps, on some alien world we can never possibly imagine, another young, deeply frightened civilization will cautiously point their own massive radio arrays at our dead, silent probe. They will anxiously scan it for a whisper, just exactly as we frantically scanned 3I Atlas. They will wonder who we were, what we loved, and why we dared to reach out into the freezing dark. That is the ultimate, profound truth we must carry forward. The ancient, frozen ghost currently screaming its way out of our solar system is a perfect, chilling reflection of exactly what humanity will one day become. We are all just brief, bright sparks desperately trying to leave a permanent mark before the endless night consumes us. This profound realization does not diminish our existence. It elevates our fragile, beautiful struggle into something entirely sacred. We are briefly awake in a sleeping universe, holding the burning torch for just a short little while. As the truly massive and overwhelming weight of that beautiful, terrifying reality settles over you, we leave you in a state of deep, reverent silence. Thank you so deeply for taking this profound cosmic journey with us today. If this incredible exploration of our vast, beautiful universe resonated with your soul, please take a brief moment to like this video and kindly subscribe to our growing channel. Your vital support is the absolute only way we can survive the cold, unforgiving algorithm and continue bringing these cosmic mysteries directly to you. Finally, please share this video with someone you love who desperately needs a powerful reminder of how staggeringly vast and beautiful our universe truly is. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars.